So welcome everyone to the talk on the interview, stroke the theme on how to get preschoolers to calm down and relax. And it's a good one, and one that many parents of preschoolers will really appreciate. So we have Stacy Mann here, and Stacy Mann has worked in the early years sector for over 20 years, starting off as a nursery nurse, then working up to a nursery manager and a children's centre manager. She then became an NVQ assessor and has continued training, mentoring and assessing. And she now has a consultancy and is a relaxed kids coach and a charge up coach. And Stacey is also author of the publication Children's Wellbeing, sold by the National Day Nurseries Association. So welcome, Stacey. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Today we're going to talk about preschoolers and getting preschoolers to relax. So your girls are now 5 and 7.
That's right.
When they were preschoolers, what did you do? How did you feel like?
Wow. I mean, with all the qualifications that I've got in early years, for the amount of times I've worked, the amount of time that I've worked in early years, I think it was just assumed that I would know exactly what to do. I would know exactly how to soothe them, exactly how to deal with behaviour. And it's just not the case, because when you're doing it professionally, you're emotionally detached. And so when you are the one that's making all of the decisions, like establishing a routine and sorting out their behaviour, knowing that they are going to be completely themselves in front of you and let all of those emotions out, it was tough. It was really, really difficult. And one of the things that really helped me was to work on myself. And I think that was the sort of best advice that I was given in the early days of being a parent, that you've got to make time for yourself and you've got to be able to understand how to self-regulate before you can even begin to start helping the children to self-regulate.
So what did that look like? What sort of things did you do yourself to help you learn those technique skills, or what self-care things what tips would you give to parents that way?
My tips would be to not feel guilty about having half an hour to yourself. And I also did something called practicing the pause. And practicing the pause is all about a situation happens and you are going to react to that situation. But practicing the pause is stopping yourself and breathing before you do actually react, so you can react to any behaviour or any situation that's going on with a calm mind. And that came from my own wellbeing journey of practicing yoga and meditating, and understanding what self-care and self-love look like for me, because I do think that self-care looks very different for different people. Some people like to go and have a run, some people like to work out. I like to relax, I like to be near water. That helps me. And I think when you've got that self-awareness, it sort of taps into your emotional intelligence, and then you're able to support your children in that way as well. Relax Kids was a massive turning point for me as well. I did my Relax Kids training in 2018, and I had gathered by that point quite a lot of different techniques to support the children, such as different breathing techniques and positive affirmations, and doing yoga with them as well. But Relax Kids allowed me to bring all of that together and support my own children in the best way that I could.
So can you think of a situation when you did that, put what you've just said into practice, when they were toddlers, they were in an emotional state, and can you remember a scenario that you can give as an example of how
I can, many. The one that always springs to mind for me, and I think is something that is really common for a lot of early years practitioners, a lot of teachers and a lot of parents, is things like when you give a child a red cup and they wanted the green one. And it's, to us, it's like, just have the cup that you've been given. And I think all of our teachings as parents and how we were parented as well, it's just, you've just got to have the red cup and you've just got to accept that. And we'd had a moment that had been going on week, where Sophia, my eldest child, who's now 7, and she would have been about 3 at the time, she would only sit in one chair at the table. And if somebody else got to that chair first, it would be a massive issue. She'd be throwing herself. She'd refuse to come and sit at the table. She'd just be so upset. And my first initial reaction was, you've got to just sit in a different chair. You've just got to accept it. That's just life for you, sweetie. You know, and that was it, really. And then I realised that actually this is a big emotion for her. And even though to us it looks really trivial, to her it was like as big as a mountain. You know, she couldn't get what she wanted when she wanted it. And so the turning point for that situation was that she was about to sit at the table. Somebody sat there first. She had a big tantrum as she would, and I sat down with her and I sat next to her and I said, I understand how it feels when you're disappointed. You really want to sit on that chair, don't you? And it was almost as though her whole body just did an exhale and said, you finally understand. You understand that this emotion is too big for me. And I held her. I did some deep breathing that I'd learnt so well, and she breathed with me. And then we sat back at the table and we never had that issue again, because she finally understood that I was empathising with her and I understood how she felt.
It really reminds me of that amazing video that was going around a few months ago on Facebook of that father with a child in absolute chaotic rage, and he just was there and he held that child, and then they finally calm down. It has to be a physical thing, doesn't it? No amount of talking is gonna, the logic goes out. And can you explain why that is in terms of the brain?
Yeah, it's because the child is completely in their, what we call the meerkat brain, so the amygdala. That emotion has become too big for that body to handle. And we all, as adults, know how that feels. We know that sometimes emotions just get so big for us to handle, we don't know what to do about it. And they haven't yet learned how to calm that emotion down. So Dr. Dan Siegel talks about it as flipping your lid. You know, we flip our lid, and then as adults, most of us, not all of us, have learned how to put that lid back on, and the children haven't quite got there yet. And so it's our responsibility really as adults to give them little tips and little tools to just keep putting in that toolkit, so that afterwards they can really tap into those tools and help them. And I'm seeing that now. I'm seeing all of the hard work is paying off now, because now Sophia's 7. And now she's able, because we've been doing techniques such as breathing and stretching and lying on the floor and just taking a moment before we react. And we've used a lot of emotional literacy, that she's now able to go, do you know what? I'm really frustrated with my sister at the moment, so I'm going to go and just take myself off for a moment, or I'm going to go and colour because I know that relaxes my mind. And she just really understands now. But I think it's because, and really, really important to my role, is that we learn those things in the early years. And you can learn them as you get older. It's that much harder, isn't it? So I think the early years is such a crucial time for the building blocks of emotional development.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier about how they mirror, your toddler will mirror you back. Can you talk about, why that is in our nervous system, and how it's almost like we're, the nervous system is talking to each other, isn't it? The parent nervous system and the child nervous system. It's like
absolutely. It is like a wireless connection, exactly that. It's almost like they have a sixth sense. And what I always say about babies is that they are balls of intuition. So they can sense when you are feeling upset, they can sense when you're feeling stressed, but they're also watching all of the time. And it almost matters less what you say and more of what you do in front of them. So I always ask myself the question, if I'm seeing them behaving in a certain way, I'll ask myself, well, how do I deal with anger? How do I deal with frustration? What am I doing in front of them that helps them to understand what to do if they're feeling that way? And recently, I took all of the excellent example of how they're just really internalizing all of these things we do on a daily basis. I took all the cushion covers off the sofa, and I washed them and then went to put them back on. And if you've ever done that, don't ever do it if you haven't done it before, because getting that foam back into that cushion cover is so difficult. And I was so frustrated, and I could feel the rage just building up inside of me. And I just went, oh! And my daughter came over to me and she said, Mom, step away, take some deep breath, and then go back to it and you'll be able to do it. And that just really cemented for me that we're on the right track, we're doing the right thing, because the repetition is going to build those connections in the brain, and the child is really going to understand how to react to some of these emotions. And I think particularly at the moment during COVID-19, we're all experiencing emotions that we've never experienced before. And so it's more important now than ever to have some of those techniques in place in your everyday as part of your routine.
Yeah. So how do toddlers and preschoolers respond to relaxation?
Initially, again, it's like I always say, it's like learning to read, it's like learning to ride a bike. It's about repetition and teaching them how, being that role model in that moment when we're relaxing, to relax with them. Do they see you relax? Do they see adults sitting down and relaxing and knowing that it's okay? Within the Relax Kids sessions, they have responded brilliantly. You see such a massive difference in such a short space of time, which you do with children of that age anyway. So of the 2 to 5 year olds, their development is so rapid that they just pick things up really quickly. Their brains are brand new, aren't they? So they're picking up all of those things really quickly. It always works well through story. And I always find that having something in their hands to hold helps a lot as well, because it stops those fidgets. And just short, a little goes a long way with relaxation. It could just be a minute. It could just be 30 seconds, whatever it is, just to calm that mind. I think is crucial to child development.
And so in terms of the physical benefits and the mental benefits, what benefits are those little ones getting doing these just 30-second, 1 minute relaxation stopping?
It allows them to reset. Yeah, it allows them to reset, allows them to recharge. It allows that nervous system to come to a really, really calm state, because imagine being a toddler running around. You've got all of this information coming at you. You're learning constantly. And I like to tune in. I like to think about how it feels for me. And I always imagine, if I was on a training course for the whole day, I'm exhausted by the end of the day, absolutely exhausted. And my brain it actually hurts, my head hurts. So thinking about how that feels for the child, because they can't tell us, they need us to lead the way and say, you know what, it's time to have some relaxation now. That's going to recharge their brain. It's going to relax and calm their nervous system, and their bodies are going to feel energized. So lots of parents will say to me, they were really relaxed at that part of the session, but now they're running around like like they never did it. Like, yeah, exactly. They've recharged, they've re-energized, and that allows their emotions to not be quite as big when they do happen, because the fatigue and all of the other things that are, you know, all the stresses have been relaxed for a moment.
Yeah. It just as you were talking, I really got this sort of visual picture of, you know, the old-fashioned radios, which I still do have, where you turn the dial, and in between the channels there's the fuzz of zzz, and just all the information, and it feels like that's what the sort of feeling that they're in, that state. And so it is that reset, just slowly moving to the right spot, and it's that sweet spot where the music is beautiful on Classic FM.
Absolutely. It's absolutely that. And they, you know, they need to be able to do that. They also need to be supported with the emotional literacy that's around that, you know, saying to them, it's time to calm, let's relax. You know, you're using all those words, and they can then start to repeat those back to you. Sometimes my own children will come to me and say, Mum, I think I need to just go and calm down for a while.
Amazing.
Because they can start to identify how that feels in their body.
Yeah, brilliant. So in your Relax Kids sessions, can you remember any particular situation where there was a toddler, and then there was a massive transformation or a change? Do you have any little anecdotes from one of your preschool classes?
One little boy always springs to mind. He came into the session and he wouldn't speak to me. He used to come in every week. He'd just come in and he'd just sit down and he'd sort of not give me any eye contact. He really lacked in confidence. He had a background of not being spoken to very nicely, not had a great start in life, and he wouldn't relax. He would not lie down. He wouldn't, when we turned the lights off and things like that. And I used to just say to him, it's okay. You don't have to lie down. You can sit up and relax. That's absolutely fine. And he would just sit, and sometimes he would just hold something. And then by week 6, it's so emotional. By week 6, he sat next to me and he said, I am amazing. I'd never heard this child speak before. And then he was 3 years old. And at the end of the session, when it came to relaxation, he came over to me and he said, relax now. And I said, yeah, it's relaxation now. And he got his pillow and he shoved it right next to mine, and we both lay together. And he just closed his eyes and listened to, we actually had your CD on at that particular session, and just lay and listened to I think it was Twinkle Twinkle. I think that was one of our favourites, Twinkle Twinkle, relaxation. And we just all lay down, and it was just beautiful. And it was a moment I'll never forget, because I came out of that session, took them all back to their little room, and just was in floods of tears, because he'd just come such a long way in 6 weeks. Such a long way.
And it does make, you know, again, I do see, you know, you're out, and it is so stressful for parents when toddlers are in an emotional state, and you see, just relax, and just sort of like, you know, and that makes their nervous system even more jangled.
Yeah.
But it is incredibly difficult. So what tips have you got for parents in those states of, I mean, it's embarrassing, it's difficult, it's stressful in the shopping centre, or what can you say to parents in those moments of high intensity?
I would say stop and pause. Take a couple of seconds yourself to breathe, and just take a big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, and you straight away will deal with that a little bit better. But also try to get over the fact that you think everybody is judging you in how you're responding, and trust your gut. I think over the past maybe 20 years, parents have been given that much advice that they forget about trusting their gut instincts. And some, you know, so many people have said to me, oh, you can't cuddle a child when they've had a tantrum. You can't cuddle them if they're, you know, they're in a temper. That's rewarding them, and it's absolutely not. It's about emotional connection. They need to be able to calm that system down before you can inject any logic. No one ever in the history of the world calmed down from being told to calm down, did they?
No, absolutely. And as you're saying that, it just reminds me of, you know, like I was brought up when I was a baby, preschool, with Dr. Spock was the expert, and Dr. Spock told parents to leave a screaming child. And so, you know, because they need to learn. So a little baby needs to learn that, you know, they need to not scream and they just need to be quiet. And it's like, how on earth could they possibly know? They just need love. They just need attention.
Yeah. And empathy, you know, understanding that these feelings are so big for their bodies to handle. And also that crying's okay, you know, crying is okay. We don't need to stop the crying. We just need to let them have this safe space to feel that emotion, you know, and say to them, wow, you're feeling really sad at the moment. Oh, you're feeling really angry. And I think that the key way of putting it is you're feeling this way. It's not who you are. You're not angry. You're not sad. You're feeling this way, and feelings come and go. And it's amazing how toddlers and preschoolers get that language. And, you know, I think using your body as well. You're the person that they, as a parent, you're the person that they love most in the world. And so by holding them and saying to them, I'm here when you're ready.
Yeah,
you know?
as you were saying that earlier, I just got this sense of when you said their body, it's too much for their bodies. Well, then use your body to, you know, almost to envelop them like a blanket, like that protective cover. They feel safe and they can melt into that. Absolutely. That's the answer, really, isn't it?
It is.
I'm not sure if we covered it, but I did have a question. What are your top tips to support children's behaviour at this age?
Connection. You know, connect with that child. Think about how they might be feeling, because sometimes the behaviour that is happening has got nothing to do with what has just happened. It could be coming from somewhere completely different. You know, if you think about, I remember being full of hormones after having my second baby, picking up a spoon that had been put away and it was dirty in the spoon drawer, and I picked it up and I just threw it across the room, and it was nothing to do with the dirty spoon. It was to do with the fact that I was sleep deprived. It was to do with the fact that I hadn't eaten properly. It was to do with the fact that I hadn't moved my body in the way that I normally do. I hadn't been doing any breathing and looking after myself. And I think that works exactly the same for the children. Think about why and where these feelings are coming from, and then we can help to support. But if we connect, first of all, with a hug or with a therapeutic tone, a melodic tone, you know, it's okay. I'm here when you're ready. Let's talk about it. I think it just really supports the children. It's something so simple with behaviour, but if we can do that first, then we're on the right track.
Fantastic. And what would you suggest to parents or a new parent to support their journey? So
say yes to help. Yeah, say yes to help. If somebody offers to make you dinner, let them. If somebody offers to take the baby while you go and have a bath, let them. Have some time for you, and because you can't pour from an empty cup, you cannot. And your response to behaviour and your tolerance levels to an energetic toddler and an energetic preschooler is going to be far less if you haven't looked after yourself first. And I think a really good way of doing that is something called the smile score, is something we use quite a lot in our house, that Dr. Laura Vater developed, which is, have you had enough sleep and rest? Have you moved today? Have you moved your body? I is for inhale, exhale, breathing properly and slowly and steadily and deeply. Love and connection. Have you spent time with the children today? Have you had time to be connected with, you know, if you're connected with another adult? And then eat to nourish, making sure that you're drinking water and you're eating healthily. 'Cause it's so easy to just go, I'll just have a chocolate bar because it'll keep me going. And actually, when you look at that smile score, your overall well-being can be determined by that, really, and you can just tweak whatever it is that's not there that day and feel so much better and able to respond to anything that your child needs.
Amazing. Thank you, Stacey. And I have two questions. One is about the Relaxed Kids Little Stars classes. What would you say to someone with toddlers who is thinking about, wants to know more about the Little Stars classes that Relaxed Kids offer?
Oh, the Little Stars classes are magical. You see little sparks of magic all the way through the session. I never come away from Little Stars without a big smile on my face. So we go through 7 steps to relaxation, and we do it through a story that's familiar to them, or we can do it, we can adapt it really. I've done it on farm animals if that's the interest right then. I've done it on Thomas the Tank Engine if that's what they're interested in. And we've sort of developed the whole session. So they go from high energy with movement and playing and laughing and telling a story, stretching their bodies, all the way down to relaxation and saying lovely things about themselves. And if we can get those positive affirmations in at that age, imagine what they're going to be like as adults, because that self-talk that we talk to ourselves more than we talk to anybody else, don't we? If that's a positive self-talk, it's going to make such a massive difference to their lives.
Amazing. And the last question, which Relaxed Kids product would you recommend for parents of toddlers?
Which Relaxed Kids?
CD, book.
Oh, right. Okay. Product, right. I thought you said project at first. Product. Oh, my goodness. Oh, it's so hard to choose. I love the Aladdin's Magic Carpet. I think it's the best book I've ever. It's all lop-eared and stuff. It's been used so much, because within there you've got fairy tale meditations. So they're short. They always end with a lovely positive affirmation. You can use your voice, which is lovely. You're able to, soothe your own child. And I have found that the amount of times that we do them, my children say them back to me now, and they've started writing their own meditations and stuff. But they say them back to me, and also in those moments of real massive emotions, I've actually remembered that and held them and said to them, close your eyes, be very still, and then gone straight into one of the meditations that I've read so many times.
And also the Little Stars CD works really well with the little toddlers. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. The Little Stars CD and the Little Stars book are amazing for the 3 to 5 year olds as well. You can sort of use a mixture of both. I find that the Little Stars book really sparks a lot of interest from the children. They want to know what all these words mean, and of course that's just extending their vocabulary, and ensuring that they have got this bank of words that they can use. It's fantastic. It really is.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Stacey. That was just so enlightening, and I just feel like I'm seeing toddlers in a completely different light, and I've learned so much. Thank you, thank you. And if anyone's interested in the classes, please do have a look on the website, and you just put Little Stars if you have toddlers. So wonderful. Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.